Hello, welcome or welcome back to the Yarn and Yarns YouTube channel. My name is Angela and all the places you can find me should be linked in the description box below this video. Here on the channel you'll find me chatting about my adventures in knitting, spinning, crochet and weaving, all of the fibre related things. Today's video is a mostly spinning video as I'm going to be sharing with you my plans for this year's Tour de Fleece. If you are not a spinner or if you're new to the spinning community, this might be something that you've not come across before. Basically, the Tour de Fleece is a community spin along that each year coincides with the Tour de France cycle race. So while the cyclists are spinning their bike wheels, we will be spinning our spinning wheels, twirling our spindles and enjoying a nice community spin along, make along. There's lots of different ways that you can join in the tour, and there are people that host teams and set challenges and will vary what they're doing each day depending on what part of the race the cyclists are doing. Or you can be like me and be a little bit of a lone wolf and just enjoy the community aspect, use the tour as a reason, an excuse to concentrate on some spinning and just set your own making goals. I have approached it in different ways over the years, and this year is no different. I'm going to set myself a few little goals, a few projects to work on. Last year I selected a whole bunch of braids from my fibre stash and tried to spin through as many of those as possible. I did consider doing that again this year, but recently I have been enjoying working on a few bigger spins rather than just sort of throwing a 100-gram braid of fibre onto my spinning wheel and spinning for fun. I've been enjoying sort of getting engrossed in larger spin projects. So I thought it'd be fun to set myself up with a couple of longer term spins or a couple of bigger spins, and then maybe have some spindle spinning projects on the side, some little things that I can dip in and out of. If you've followed the channel for any length of time, you know that I'm someone who likes to flip between projects. Unless it's a particularly small project, I don't sort of pick up one project and work it through to the end and then start my next one. I have loads of things on the go and just switch between whatever takes my mood, whatever I fancy doing. Yeah, I thought it would be fun to have a couple of bigger spins to start and then some smaller things to just throw into the mix as and when I fancy. The other thing that I needed to bear in mind this year is we've got lots of family commitments, and obviously I'm working this year out of the house. Last year's Tour de Fleece I was working at home. I don't know if I'm going to be home every day to sort of sit and spin at my wheel every day, so it's important to me this year to have a few portable projects, my spindle projects, so that if I am away from home or out of the house then I do have the opportunity to work on something if I want to. So yeah, I thought I'd share a little video with you today and chat about my plans. With all of these projects, because of my circumstances this year, I'm not necessarily going to be putting any pressure on myself or pushing myself to finish any of these things. I just want to start and see how much progress I can make during the next few weeks while the tour is on. I've got two projects that I'd like to put on to my spinning wheel, my e-spinner, and so I'll share those with you first. Earlier on this year, one of our lovely community members, Sharon, sent me an amazing parcel with some fibre that she wanted to gift me, and included in that parcel was this amazing bag from Wonderful Wool, fibre producer here in the UK, and it has a fibre advent in it. And so I decided I would save this advent for the Tour de Fleece, and this is going to be one of my spin projects. I'm going to try and work through as many of these little packages as I can. I'm sure most of you have seen a fibre or a yarn advent before, so there's lots of these little bags inside this big bag and I'm going to be pulling out a bump of fibre each day. This one happens to be day one, so I'm going to pull this out and share with you just to give you an idea of what might be in these packages. Now, because I didn't purchase this fibre advent myself, I have no idea if the fibres are all different, if the colours are different. It's going to be a really lovely gift every day from Sharon for me to open up these parcels and discover what's inside. So this one, number one, happens to be Radna fibre, and there's a little explanation on here which is really nice. It says Hill Radna has a dense white fleece with a light brown face and legs, and it is 31 to 33 microns and 8 to 14 centimetres staple length. So yeah, I think it would be a really lovely thing for me to work through these, and I think I'm going to be at least opening the packages every day, even if I can't keep up with the spinning the fibre every day. So that's going to be the first thing that will be keeping me busy during the Tour de Fleece this year. My second project, the second of these sort of larger projects, I have several big fibre quantities in my stash that I purchased with the idea of spinning for sweaters. I pulled out all of those quantities. I think there's 5 or 6 altogether. Can't remember without totting it up or checking. But I currently have a poll going over on my Patreon. So for my Patreon community, I have asked folks over there to vote to pick one of these quantities of fibre for me to spin through. Now, I'm recording this a week or two before, I don't even know what date it is today. that's what my life is like at the moment. It's a week or two before the Tour de Fleece starts, and I've just popped up the poll on my Patreon page. I won't know which of these quantities that I will be spinning until the first day of the tour or the day before. So I think the tour starts on the 29th of June this year, if I'm remembering rightly. So on the 28th of June, I will just check in on the poll, and just whichever of the fibre quantities is winning the vote will be the thing that I spin. Just pulled a couple of the bumps of fibre just to sort of give you an idea. So I've got this big bag from John Arbon, and then I've got this one here from Fibre Hut. They're all different colours, they're all different fibre compositions, and I've got different weights as well. I think this one might be my smallest quantity. There's about 450 grams in this one, and then in this bag there's just under 1 kilo of fibre. So yeah, I think depending on which of the fibres win the vote will determine on whether there's even a small chance of me hoping to finish the spin before the end of the tour. But as I mentioned earlier, my goal for this year, because my life is so busy at the moment, is not necessarily to put pressure on myself to finish anything. It's just to get some of these spins started, and then I'll carry on and finish them after the tour if needs be. So yes, I shall be hopefully starting to spin up a sweater quantity of fibre, but what that fibre is at the moment is a mystery. Okay, so let's chat about some spindle spinning. I thought it'd be fun to have a few other spins on the go that might be a little bit portable, and a few little spins for fun alongside some of the big spins. Now, I've got collections of different types of spindles. I have some Turkish spindles, I have some drop spindles, and I have some support spindles. So I thought I would line up at least one project for each of those different spindle types, and I can switch back and forth again depending on my mood, what I have time for or what I fancy working on each day. Let's talk about my drop spindle project, because that's actually another ongoing larger spin. If you've been following along with my adventures here for a little while, you might recognise this spin. I think 2 years ago now, I purchased 2 Shetland fleeces from a farm in West Wales, and I spent some time hand combing one of the fleeces. I scoured, washed the fleece, and then I prepped the fleece by hand combing all of these lovely little nests of Shetland Fiber. I've been spinning these on and off. I've got a little collection of singles that I've spun up, but there's still plenty of this fibre left, and I'm wondering to myself whether 2024 will be finally the year that I finish this project. We can hope. I've recently started picking this one up again, and as you can see, I've filled up 3 of my drop spindles. I tend to switch between these 3 to work on this project. I've got one spindle from IST Crafts, I've got a Moosey from Bosworth, and I have got an Enid Ashcroft drop spindle as well. I've got quite a big collection of spindles. These are probably 3 of my favourites from my drop spindle collection. They're just a joy to work with, and they seem to be combining with this fibre really nicely. It's just such a pleasurable spin, this one, which is another reason that I am not rushing through the spin. I am just picking it up as and when I fancy, and every time I do, it just brings a smile to my face, and I just love working on this. So there's no rush to finish. Shetland Fiber is one of my favourites, and working with this hand processed fibre is just a joy. I don't even want to think about how many hours will have gone into the yarn by the time I finish it, but hey. There are worse things to spend your time doing, aren't there? So that will be my drop spindle project for this year's tour. Next up is my support spindle project, and I have a fabulous collection of support spindles. These are just 3. This one is from Alice Savage. This one is from Woodland Woodworking, has this beautiful carved face on it. And this one is from Enid Ashcroft. I'm going to be starting on my support spindles by spinning up these fibre nests that I have. Now, I made a bat and I've stripped the bat down and I have these nests ready to spin. Not going to share too much more about that project because if all goes to plan, there will be a video coming dedicated to this spin. My thought is there's not too much fibre here, probably less than 50 grams. I can't remember off the top of my head. My plan will then be to find something else to pop onto my support spindles, but I haven't decided what that might be yet. That will be something for future Ange to think about if this spin does get finished. Finally, for spindle spinning projects, I have my little collection of Turkish spindles. Not all of my Turkish spindles are in here, so I shall need to have a hunt around and locate a couple. There's at least 2 that aren't in this little pot here. So I've got various types of Turkish spindles. I've got some 3D printed ones. This one was gifted to me by my lovely friend Caroline, and I have a couple of turtle pearl 3D spindles, and then I've also got some beautiful wooden Turkish spindles. This one was a fabulous gift from Deb, and it is a Schneider spindle. I do have a little wooden Turkish spindle from Enid Ashcroft somewhere, and I have at least 1 if not 2 more turtle made spindles somewhere, so yeah, they're probably in project bags somewhere. I need to go around and gather them and get them ready for the tour, and then I can decide which ones to use. For those, I am planning on spinning up some Rolag. I have this box with some random Rolags in it, and most of these are leftovers or experiments for Yarn and Yarns fibre clubs. I'm not doing the fibre clubs at the moment, I just can't make the time for it, but hopefully later in the year, once our family commitments ease up, if they do, that I can get back to dedicating some time to making some fibre clubs again. But yeah, I've got various kind of Rolags and bits of Rolags in this box. I think the majority of them are this beautiful Shetland combination of browns and blues. When I was rooting around in this, I even found out a little sort of wrist cuff that I'd knit up from one of the samples that I'd made, so I can use that as a bit of a wristy stuff, tuck my fibre out of the way. I've got a whole bunch of these randoms that have been hanging around for a while, so I thought it'd be fun just to get those spun up, make some little yarn samples and kind of clear these away and make yarn rather than have this box of fluffy fibre hang around. So yeah, that will be my Turkish spindle project. Looking forward to getting stuck into a little bit of Rolag spinning. Those are all the spinning plans, but of course when it comes to fibre and spinning, there's also the joy of fibre prep, which I really love playing around with as well. So I'm going to try and aim to add a little bit of fibre play into my making for the Tour de Fleece month as well. Again, I'm not planning on particularly finishing anything, I just want to try and kind of earmark some time for me to play around. I've got a couple of ideas in mind, and the first is I'd like to get back to some fleece preparation. I have got quite a few fleeces in my collection that I've been patiently waiting for me to do some prep on them. Most of them have been washed. I think all but one of my fleeces have been washed, and so they're just waiting for me to process them in some way. I had a little bit of a fleece disaster when I came to prepare for this video. I had one particular fleece in mind that I really wanted to work with. A lot of the fleeces that I have been kindly given to me, but there's 3 that I purchased. The Shetland combed nests was from a fleece that I purchased. I purchased another fleece at the same time as that, and then I had one from Fernhill Farm, which was a Shetland Romney cross. Absolutely beautiful fleece, and that was the one that I wanted to work on. I thought it'd be beautiful for drum carding. Now, I store my fleeces in old pillowcases kind of wrapped up in the corner of my room, and when I pulled out the Fernhill Fiber fleece, you probably know what's coming. It was absolutely crawling with moths, sadly. I checked all of the other fleeces that I have because they're all living in the same corner, and there was one other fleece that had been given to me that also had signs of moth activity. All the rest were absolutely fine, so I think I just didn't seal the top of the pillowcases well enough, and a moth or two crept into those, so I have since added those to be composted because, yeah. The Fernhill fleece, I was just so gutted when that happened because it was absolutely beautiful fleece, and it was literally like a moth farm. I opened the bag and there was all these eggs, there was all these fully hatched moths just crawling around in there having a whale of a time in my beautiful fleece. Sad times, but a good lesson for the future to make sure that I'm checking them regularly and moving them around, and making sure that they're properly covered and protected as much as possible. So valuable lesson learned. So instead of working on my Fernhill fleece, I'm going to be working on the other fleece that I got from the West Wales farm, the other Shetland fleece. Now the first one that I've already processed, I combed because the locks were quite long, in these beautiful shades of grey. And the second fleece that I have is a brown fleece. I think it was called fawn rather than brown. I can't really show you because it's shoved into its pillowcase at the moment. But when I got the fleece, it's actually sort of several different colours. So there's some chocolatey brown, there's some almost grey, and there's also like a mid kind of brown part of this fleece as well. So the locks are much shorter. I've pulled out a few different locks that kind of show the colour variation. I'm not sure how well it will show up on the camera, but you can see the sort of darker brown on the end, the kind of grey in the middle, and then there's this lovely sort of mid brown. I am going to, at some point during the tour, hopefully pull that fleece out of the pillowcase, have a look at it outside and see how I want to process it. I don't know yet whether I'm just going to try and equally kind of mix the colours and just blend them up in my drum carder, or whether I'll try and keep the different colours separate. I'm really not sure. At the moment, without looking at the fleece, I'm leaning towards just trying to separate them into piles so that there's roughly the same kind of ratio of each colour, and then just blending them all together to make what will hopefully be a lovely sort of mid browny grey colour. So that will be a lot of bat making, hopefully. And then I also want to make some rolags. So this is the final thing that I have on my list of potential projects for the tour. Last year I made a set of rolags on my blending board from some fibre that had been gifted to me by some lovely friends. I blended up a set of rolags and then I spun a collection of yarns from those rolags. I've deliberately tried to make textured yarns, all different colours, and it's already been a really fun project to work on. And my idea, my aim, my thought is to eventually combine all of these textured yarns into a big patchwork cardigan for myself. Actually, I'd like to get this onto the needles because I'm not sure exactly how much yarn I'm going to need, and because my aim is to spin chunkier, thick and thin type yarn with lots of texture, I don't necessarily want to spin a huge quantity of that and then have loads of leftovers. I'd like to kind of spin as I go, but the pattern that I'm going to be using, obviously I will be starting that pattern I think with the ribbing, bottom ribbing, and I would like to spin a sort of consistent colour, as colourful as all of the sort of patches will be on this cardigan. I'd like to spin a consistent colour for like the button bands and the ribbing on the sleeves and the bottom. So I've recently purchased some fibre for that purpose, and I want to blend it up with maybe some sari silk or just some silk, I haven't decided yet, so I can make some sort of chunky textured yarn to match this. I'm hoping this will be enough. It's 300 grams from World of Wool, and it's Blueface Leicester, and it's they called the colour navy. It looks very black on the screen, but it does have like that sort of raveny sort of blue black tint to it, which I really like. I'm hoping that this combined with some flecks of colour or some sari silk, I haven't quite decided yet, will be enough, should be more than enough, to blend up some rolags to make the yarn that I need for the ribbing and the button bands, and then I can actually cast this on and start working on the project. And then eventually I'll need to blend up some more of these sort of smaller colours to add into my cardigan. I'd like to start making some rolags from this fibre so that I can finally progress this project. I've got all of these sat in one corner of my craft attic, staring at me and they just want to be knitted, they want to be cast on. I want to see whether this project that I have in mind is going to work, whether it will come to fruition. But yeah, I need to do a little bit more rolag making and spinning in order to start the fun bit of combining the colours. Yeah, rolag making hopefully will be on the agenda for the tour as well. Right, that's quite a lot, isn't it? Having said it was going to be a quick video, I feel like I've been talking for quite a long time. We shall see how many of these projects I managed to get off the ground and how far I managed to get with them during the Tour de Fleece. I will of course be doing some knitting and stuff as well. I'm not just going to be exclusively spinning, but my thought is to maybe concentrate on some projects that perhaps use hand spun yarn for July. We'll see what I can come up with for that. I don't know if there's going to be a July making plans video because I'm kind of on standby at the moment to go up to see family to offer some family support. It's just so difficult to make plans at the moment. One of our family members is in hospital and I will be needed to go and provide some extra help and support once they're released from hospital, but we don't know when that's going to be. I might not be here tomorrow, it might be next week before I have to leave, but I feel like we're getting towards the end of the month, so my being away might interfere with my ability to make a July making plans video. So yeah, if I disappear for a while and there's no making plans, that's the reason. Anyway, waffle, you don't really want to know about this. So let me sign off. Thank you so much for sticking with me through this slightly scattered video. My thoughts are a bit scattered, my plans are all over the place, and that probably comes across, but hey, it's all a bit fun, isn't it? Our making provides relief, hopefully, from the other day-to-day stuff that we have to deal with. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you are participating in the Tour de Fleece in any way. I know that some knitters now pick sort of Tour de Fleece projects and work on their knitted projects as well. So yeah, if you're a spinner, let me know what your plans are. Are you joining a team? If you're a knitter, just let me know what your plans are for the coming weeks. I will of course be back here hopefully soon with some more making content, so I hope you will join me for the next video. Until we do get to spend time together again, I hope you get to do some of the things that you enjoy. Great big woolly hugs to you all. Bye for now. Bye.